Hello and welcome to This Is your brand new PS5 overheating?
Well, that would be impressive because it's not out yet.
I mean, we have one right here.
Flex.
Well, yeah, we don't have a working one apparently.
Okay, there's a little bit of work left on it. No problem.
We got our PS5 from IKEA. It's fine. So there is a rumor floating around Twitter that PS5s are overheating. There's been a number of articles written about this, and it all stems from a single tweet that claims a PS5 in a Best Buy kiosk was overheating.
This is the dumbest thing I've heard all week. So these kiosks have obviously been around for a long time. That's the way you played your N64, your Xbox 360, your Wii U. Actually, no one played the Wii U.
No one did.
The thing is, these things, first of all, I'm not entirely convinced that this is real. I'm just gonna put that up front. Second of all, these kiosks are notoriously awful for airflow. So if you look at the photo from the tweet, it looks tiny, but you were saying that someone actually opened it up and there's actually a dummy PS5 up front, right?
Yeah, so if you look at there's one photo of the kiosk, and the PS5 is in a very small glass box. What actually is, if you look under the kiosk, it opens up, and there's another PS5,
a real one,
in there, which is what is actually connected to the TV. And there's at least one spot for fan ventilation, maybe two, but it's still not great airflow to begin with.
Yeah.
So one of these things is these consoles are on 24/7 in those kiosks. So I mean, even in best conditions, that's not great for the console.
Okay, so if you look closely at the image floating around Twitter, specifically if you look at the text, you'll see that to me, it looks a little bit askew. It doesn't actually look completely real. And honestly, that font looks very the layout seems kind of PS3-ish to me.
Whether it's fake or not, I don't think this is a good indication of whether this is actually going to be overheating.
Not at all.
These are the worst possible conditions that, I mean, I'm sure some of you will find a better way to enclose your PS5, in a pile of junk that's connected to your TV.
Tech tip, don't.
Yeah. PS5 did put out a little article of here's 5 tips for keeping your PS5 from overheating.
Well, that's actually a good point because we actually recently did a teardown, thus the PS5 motherboard in front of us, on the main channel. And one of the things that we were able to see, and actually they showed it in the original sort of official teardown as well, they had these little dust catchers on the plastic shroud. And so the idea with the PS5 is you're actually meant to take it apart. You can pull those side panels off. You can access the SSD if you don't scratch it like I did.
Yeah, you did scratch it so bad.
It's fine, because as long as you do it gently, it's fine. But one of the things you'll notice there is that they actually have a couple of little dust catchers.
Yeah.
They're specifically meant. I don't know actually how well they're gonna do that, because if you look at the fan actually is fairly exposed. There's not any kind of filter over it or anything. I bet you 6 months of use with this thing in some kind of carpeted location, it's gonna get dusty.
This is the only fan. This is the only active cooling in the entire PS5. It goes through the entire console.
Yeah, so it basically pulls from both sides.
Yeah.
And then it runs it through the heatsink and then out the back. So the back of the PS5 gets very warm, but this fan is able to move a lot of air.
And this is just side note. This is this is my new fidget spinner. we can't.
Wow, what a flex!
We can't put together our PS5 again because I'm gonna keep the fan because it just feels so satisfying. It's so hefty that when you spin this, it just feels amazing. I don't know how to describe that.
Huge shout out to SteelSeries for sponsoring today's episode. So they've got their brand new Arctis 7P wireless headset, which is perfect for your shiny new PS5, or your PS4, or your phone, or your Switch.
Or really any device that you have, because it is compatible with pretty much any device through a USB-C dongle, included adapters, 3.5 headphone jack, you name it. It plugs in. One of the things I really love about these is how comfortable they are.
Oh, they're so nice.
It is so comfortable to wear these.
Yeah, so that's one of the nice things about it.
Yeah.
SteelSeries, of course, have been making great headsets for years now. And because you have that fully wireless experience, not only do you get the 24 hours of battery life, so you can game for days at a time, but on top of that, well, actually, don't game for days at a time. You can go days between charging. 24 hours of gaming is probably not healthy, but
No.
you also have that great audio quality, you have the microphone, and you have the comfort to play as long as your butt will allow.
Yeah, your butt will allow.
That's the main limiting factor. Now, on top of that, in addition to all of the cables and whatnot, this is a Discord certified microphone, so feel free to hook it up to your PC or whatever. But regardless, if you are in the market for a brand new headset, specifically if you've got that new PS5, definitely be sure to check out the Arctis 7P wireless at the link in the description. And huge shout out to SteelSeries for sponsoring This Is and helping us enable these wonderful, wonderful videos.
This looks like it's really well cooled.
Yes.
You know, for starters, the size of the console is just doing, it's doing it plenty of favors. The heatsink on it is absolutely massive. Yeah. It is a big, chunky, hefty heatsink that, when I picked it up, I'm like, whoa!
There's no doubt Sony spent a lot of time, energy, effort, and specifically money on designing a PS5 which would not only be able to sustain high boost clocks, because keep in mind, unlike the Xbox Series X, this has variable frequencies, which essentially means if it's not being cooled well, you're losing performance, not something you want on your PS5. So they put a lot of effort into making sure that this thing will run not only cool and at high performance, but importantly also quietly, right? So this fan, I think, certainly plays a role, but also the overall size of the console also does as well, because essentially what they did was they went for what I would say is a little bit more of a traditional design with the system, right? So there's no vapor chamber, there's no dual motherboards.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you're right, it's a very traditional design internally, but then externally it's the craziest looking thing ever. I don't know. So
but there's a reason for that, right? Because what they've done instead is they've relied on things like the liquid metal. So this is something that is traditionally not seen in consumer electronics, right? So enthusiasts, the Quinn Nelsons of the world, use liquid metal on their MacBooks, and it certainly is a better conductivity medium. That's the way to say it.
I would say conductive.
Yeah,
the liquid metal, we don't really see it on anything because it's really dangerous. If it's not handled properly, it will just totally destroy. We have to, when we put this back together, we have to be super careful, because if any of this gets anywhere on this board, it's just going to short it out.
Yeah.
You should not take apart your PS5.
Don't do that.
Just disclaimer. One of the things that I was really worried about is with the liquid metal is it never fully dries. It
doesn't. It literally stays liquid at room temperature.
You can't really see it here, but if we tap this is jiggling. And if we turn it a little bit too far, it's going to spill out. That's what this kind of black sponge is for. It kind of absorbs some of it.
So the thing is, if you don't disassemble your PS5, which you certainly shouldn't, there is a lot of pressure on it. I don't think in normal use you're going to have a problem. But that being said...
Yeah, it's not like it's sloshing around.
But think about it, right? Over multiple years, maybe this sort of foam starts to harden up. Yeah, exactly. Who knows if you take a couple of big drops or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily something to be concerned about now or even into the future necessarily. But it is something that, there's a reason that most companies have not opted to go with liquid metal, even though it performs better, because there's some inherent risk there. That being said, I don't think there's any real reason for concern, especially given now that we've taken it apart and see.
Yeah.
I think Sony did a really good job of putting this together. I'll believe issues when they start to crop up, but I think so far everything seems to be well engineered, and certainly I am not concerned about the PS5 overheating in any kind of remotely normal circumstance.
Especially because it's so big that the chances of it actually being able to fit in a lot of people's TV stands is
true.
There's a lot of TV stands it's not going to even fit in, so it's going to sit on the side of your TV. It's going to get all the airflow it could possibly want. If you put your console in a TV stand and then pack that in with other junk and it gets no airflow, it's going to overheat.
Yeah.
None of these are immune to heating. This is a very impressive looking fan, but it's still fairly traditional.
It's an evolution of the PS4 design, which was an evolution of the PS3 design. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's the way you build a console. That's the way even a lot of PCs are kind of influenced by that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you look at what the Series X has done, it's some wacky.
It's a cyclone that goes through the entire thing. And
you got dual motherboards, you got that mid plate. There's a lot of stuff going on, vapor chamber, which is great, right? That is part of the reason why the Series X is a more powerful console, even though the actual wattage and the actual heat output is likely very similar. But they're able to do it in sort of a smaller, more compact chassis, whereas the PS5 is just a big boy, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I think everyone who's concerned about overheating, until I see consoles in the wild after months of use starting to have issues, I'm not concerned in the slightest. I think they've done a very good job here, and especially now that we've taken it apart and really gotten a very close and up personal, look. at the PS5, I feel very confident in saying that they did a really good job of engineering the cooling solution. Yeah, it's a little bit on the bigger side, but I would happily take a console which is a little bit bigger that runs not only cool, but importantly keeps that performance up and doesn't sound like a PS4 Pro jet engine.
When we fired this on, it's totally normal. I would say it was kind of on par with the PS4 Pro.
No! The PS4 Pro is so loud. Are you kidding me?
Mine is not.
You have the later model though, huh?
I do. I have the Spider-Man version of the PS4 Pro. It's pretty quiet.
You want to hold the big chungus?
Not after you call it a big chungus.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of This Is. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for other chungus-related content like this. And who knows, we might just myth bust your next Xbox Red Ring of Death rumor or your PS6 leaked rumor. You never know. We can get a clickbait title out of it. We'll probably make the video.